guys, welcome back to the United Star. Today we have Akash Chandan from the Corner Flag. Akash, thanks for coming on. We're here to preview the Everton game, and I'm so happy to have you here, Akash.
Thank you so much for having me, Prem.
Fantastic. So now, Akash, obviously, before we get into previewing the game, or it's now we have to talk about it. Don Carlo was supposed to be the one who takes Everton to the next level. He was supposed to be the man, but and he said that in his press conference. He was looking at a long-term future at Everton, and the signings were being made according to him, and an offer came from Madrid, and he's gone. Now, keeping that aside, if we look at the new manager that's been hired, that's also such a controversial topic with Benitez being hired, and obviously with the entire rivalry of Liverpool and the Merseyside derby. What is your opinion on this entire scene that's happened at Everton?
Can I just give you my therapist's number? You can just speak directly to her. I feel like I can't open up these wounds again. It's been shocking, yeah. I've been an Everton fan for way too long, about 20 years now, but this is the most apathetic I've felt about the club. This is the most hurt I've felt, which is saying something. Coming from an Everton fan who's seen Sam Allardyce at his club, I feel like Carlo Ancelotti leaving was very depressing. It was really sad. It felt like a really bad breakup. I still don't think I'm over it. I'm still in that phase where I've moved from grief to anger. And I really hope Real Madrid tank this season because nothing would make me happier. But yeah, it was like you said, he said all the right things. He said all those lovely, lovely quotes like wanting to be the manager who opens Bramley-Moore docks, which would mean that he would extend his contract, and then poof, just like that, he was gone. I'm still getting over it. And as I was, bam, Rafa Benitez. So honestly, I don't really know how I feel about Rafa Benitez. It's going to be an interesting season. The reason I feel like Benitez is not going to work out as a manager is not because I have a problem with the fact that he's a Liverpool fan or because I feel like he's a bad manager. I do think he's a little bit of a has-been, and I'd much rather Everton went for the next Rafa Benitez or the next Jose Mourinho. Someone up and coming, someone who wants to win trophies and not has already won trophies. But while I have those problems, I think the main issue with Benitez is going to be that he will never be able to get Goodison Park 100% behind him. Yeah. Already, if you're seeing rumors, there's so much animosity against Rafa Benitez because apparently, and the way Everton Twitter and social media in general is taking it, is that Rafa Benitez wants James Rodriguez to go. When, let's be honest, pretty much everyone knew as soon as Ancelotti was gone, Rodriguez is going to leave as well. If you follow the podcast, if you follow Corner Flag, I mentioned earlier that as soon as Carlo Ancelotti was gone, I expected James Rodriguez and Richarlison to want out. So, but Rafa Benitez is getting the blame. And that is my issue with this appointment, is that because he has a tainted, and I say that in air quotes, past because of his association with the red side of Merseyside, he's never going to get enough time. Everton's a club which anyways is toxic, is anyways impatient, has gone through a lot of hurt, and now can't deal with a long-term project. Rafa Benitez is a man who will need a long-term project. Everton is a club that does need a long-term project because of the number of changes, managerial changes we've had. When the managers have changed so often, the team has changed so often, we still need to sort that out, that short-term mentality. I don't see Benitez lasting for more than 18 months and 18 months is me being optimistic, but he's not a manager who's going to get 3 or 4 years at the club. And I think what Everton needed after someone like Ancelotti, who was here for the big project, left, was to make sure that someone comes in who has 4 years, who gets 5 years and gets a patient fan base and not one who's waiting for a chance to go at his throat.
Right. I think it makes a lot of sense because um, it's funny because you have a manager coming in right now, and like you said, you don't expect him to stay for more than 18 months, and that you were being optimistic. So I mean,
Right.
I I can little understand because maybe we felt the same way about Oli when he came in at the start. He was only a
Exactly.
caretaker manager, but I think if you, I don't know, I don't know how it's going to work out. I've liked Rafa Benitez. I've liked him as a manager. He's done some great things for Liverpool, but I don't know how it's going to work out with Everton. It's going to
But
be
also, how long ago was that?
exactly.
He
It's
was
been a while.
great with Liverpool, but when Liverpool got him, he was the new up and coming exciting manager, right? They
Yes.
got him before his peak, and he spent his peak at Liverpool.
Yeah.
And now he's past his prime. And why is Everton getting him now?
Yeah, makes sense. So I think moving on now, the manager fiasco. It's happened now, but I think the board had to do something to pacify the fans, and they've gone out and made some decent signings. I would say. I think firstly
If
Demarai
they
Gray
think
from
1.7 million of transfer spend is going to pacify fans, that's not going to happen. They need a lot more.
right. So I think just talking about the incoming, Demarai Gray has been signed from Leverkusen. Andros Townsend has been signed from Crystal Palace, although he's a bit old. And yeah, I mean he's still a quality player. I feel Begovic
Yeah, for
is
sure.
come into the team. What do you feel about these signings? Do you think they are enough, or what is it?
No, they're definitely not enough. There are a few more positions that I need to reinforce, but I definitely think they're a step in the right direction because financial fair play is a little bit strict when it comes to a club like Everton now because Everton have spent a ridiculous amount of money on poor players or poor buys, right? We got Bolasi for about 27 million. He was not bad till he had an ACL injury that kept him out for a season, and you can't really expect a player who relied on pace as his main weapon to come back from an ACL injury.
Yeah.
So 27 on Bolasi, he was about 27 on Alex Iwobi, who's just not worked out. 25 on Davy Klaassen, who, I mean, played one season and he was gone. We took a massive hit on that. So I feel like from getting expensive players who are quite a gamble, Everton have sort of been forced to move to this cheaper bargain buys. So you mentioned Demarai Gray. I think he's a great player with a lot of potential who hasn't made it big yet. We were all excited when we saw him in that title-winning Leicester side, but he couldn't really achieve his potential. But he's still only 25. He's 25, he's pacey, he's very attack-minded. Which is what something Everton have needed. None of the midfielders or the wingers that the club have had are the kinds who get the ball, turn around, and are directly at the opposition goal. A young Ross Barkley in his teenage years was doing that for Everton. But I think since Barkley left, we haven't had that player who gets the ball and is immediately looking for an attacking pass. So I think Demarai Gray for 1.6 million will end up being a very good bargain because if he flops, you're not in so much trouble because he was cheap. Right. And if he hits it off, you've just got yourself a great buy. Another great thing that they've done is they've not given any of these new signings long contracts because we had Bernard on a 5-year contract, Cenk Tosun, who was also bought for about 22 million on a 5-year contract, Yannick Bolasie on a 5-year contract, players that we weren't being able to get rid of. Now we've got Demarai Gray, I think, on a 2-year contract with an option of a third. So if he performs well in the 2 years, then you give him that third, you leave that carrot dangling, which always helps motivate a player. Andros Townsend, now you said he is old, he is about 30. So again, a player that's slightly over the hill, but is a player who had the highest crossing accuracy in the entire Premier League last season. Now, when Everton have a number 9 like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who proved last year that he's so good in the air, he's a poacher, he's a fox in the box, who, if you give him a good cross, 9 out of 10 times he's going to put in the back of the net. If you get a person like Andros Townsend to put in those crosses, who has the highest accuracy of a completed cross, you're just increasing the chances of getting those goals. So again, I'm very happy with Andros Townsend as a buy. When he came into the club, he also mentioned that I understand that I'm being brought in as a squad player, but I want to prove that I'm a lot more.
Yeah.
That's the attitude I want from the players. Players who are okay with being on the bench, but are itching to get off it. So again, I think a very shrewd signing at with no fee. Again, a 2-year contract or a 1-year contract with an option for another. It's very, very shrewd business, I would say. Asmir Begovic, a lot of people were like, oh, again, why are you getting keeper that's that old? He might be old, but he is very experienced and he is very good. 2 seasons ago, I think Jordan Pickford was really, really poor because there was no second in command pushing for that number one jersey. Last season, we got Robin Olsen, the Swedish international keeper, on loan from AS Roma, and suddenly there was a fire up Pickford's ass, you know. And the first half of the season, while he was a little bit shaky, he really picked it up around Christmas, and then since then till the Euros, he's been amazing because there was that pressure. I feel like every player needs to have someone standing behind his shoulder where if the levels drop, you know you lose that spot. Robin Olsen on loan was extremely good, but again, we didn't have to pay anything for him.
Yeah.
Now you've got someone with that kind of experience, but better because he's had many years in the Premier League. He still has at least a season at the top because 34 for a keeper is not very old.
Yeah.
And you have someone who's going to make sure that Pickford can't relax or Pickford can't get off the tip of his toes. And that's going to be a very important signing. So far, I'm quite happy with the business, but I'm hoping there's more.
Yeah. I just want to add to that you said Pickford had a good season, the second half of the season, but I think his main contribution was in the first half where he finished Van Dijk's season. And I think that really threw off Liverpool.
I mean, that was really important for the league in general, but for the club, for Everton, he was better second half.
Fantastic. So you mentioned that you would like to see more signings in more positions. So what are the positions you have in mind, and what player would you like to see come into Everton if you have any in mind?
So there's, I think, 2 positions that definitely need reinforcements, ideally 3. The most important, in my opinion, is the right back position, because while Seamus Coleman has been an excellent servant for the club, he is one of my favorite players. And I mean, now that Baines has left, he's the most true blue Evertonian that's there in the team. But he is now up there. He's on the wrong side of 30. We need someone younger to pick up the mantle from him. I think with Leighton Baines, we had a club legend who was replaced by someone who, if possible, is better than him in Luca Dean.
Yeah.
And he's been very important in the last 3 years that Everton have had him now. It's time we make that switch on the right side as well. Seamus Coleman needs a younger person to take the baton from him now. I don't think he can play week in, week out. So right back is a very important spot. Since the end of last season, Everton have consistently been linked with Denzel Dumfries, who would be, in my opinion, an amazing buy. Fantastic signing. I mean, he proved himself, I think, in the Euros.
Yeah.
Like with Luca Dean, he has a mean cross, and that can only mean good things for people like Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison up top.
Yeah.
So Denzel Dumfries would be great. I feel like we also need a central midfielder with the qualities that I spoke about in Demarai Gray, someone like a young Ross Barkley, who is very attack-minded, because while Everton are very stacked in the central midfield position, we have Gbamin, Alan, and Doucouré, who are extremely defensive-minded.
Yeah.
We have Tom Davies, who is, again, Scouser and Evertonian through and through, but he's still young and he is a ball-to-ball midfielder. He's not someone with a creative twang in central midfield. And then we have Andre Gomez, who for his first season when he was on loan at Everton had that. But I think he also had that because you had someone like Jisa Ganage by his side doing the defensive work for him. After that horrific leg break that he had against Tottenham, I feel like Andre Gomez has just not been able to hit the ground running. And again, is not as attacking minded as one needs. He is still more of a sideways passer, not a very good one at that. So I feel like we need to get rid of Andre Gomez and get someone in there. I don't have a player in mind, but there's a young Brazilian midfielder named Matthias Nunes, who right now plays for Sporting.
Okay.
He's about 21. He is that player. He is an attacking minded central midfielder who can also play attacking midfield. So if and when James goes, you have someone in that creative mold. And ideally, I think Everton need one more right winger, because now on the left we have Demarai Gray. On the right, we only have Andros Townsend, who, like you mentioned, is now 30. And we need a younger right winger. Everton had been scouting Leon Bailly for 3 seasons now, very openly so. And then Aston Villa have swooped in. And I think Aston Villa is doing really well in this transfer market. And I wish Everton were doing that. But I feel like a right winger would also be good. The struggle, however, is the finances. And apparently, if Twitter ITKs are to be believed, Denzel Dumfries and Matthias Nunes are pretty much done deals. Everton are just trying to figure out the finances for them, because we're trying to push people like your Cenk Tosun and your James might leave. There's Fabian Delph, meaning God, get Fabian Delph out of my club. Andre Gomez apparently was offered in a swap deal to Matthias Nunes, and Sporting were like, yeah, no, we don't want him. He doesn't work for us. So I'm sure that you'll see at least 2, if not 3 more players come into the club, but I'm not expecting anything to happen till after the season starts and much closer to deadline day, because I think that's when Everton will be able to get rid of some of the deadwood that still remains at the club.
Right. So moving on to the preseason that Everton's had, they've played, I think, 2 games in the Florida Cup. One of them has been a 10-9 penalty win, and the other one has been, I think, a 1-0 win. So it's been, and the teams haven't been, the caliber of the teams that they've played hasn't been very high. I think one of them, they're the South American teams, if I'm not.
Yeah, one was a Colombian team and one was a Mexican team.
Exactly. So
Millonarios and Pumas.
And Puma, yeah. So I think this will be the first game for Everton, which is really, I think, of the Premier League caliber, playing United. So what do you expect going into this game? Like, how do you expect Everton to line up?
So firstly, Everton did, before the Florida Cup, they did play 2 closed-door friendlies. One was against Blackburn and one was against, I can't remember who, but another club in the Championship. Okay. So fitness-wise, they've sort of gotten there, but they've not really played anyone nearly as challenging as United. I was in fact quite surprised that they're playing United as the last preseason friendly, because, I mean, if United whip Everton 4-0, that's a terrible way to start the season. You know, that's terrible. I'm not very excited to see that happen. But I am interested to see, or I am excited to see Calvert-Lewin, Yerry Mina, and Jordan Pickford back in the squad, because so far they've been missing because of their international commitments. One thing that maybe slightly is intriguing about the way Rafa Benitez plays his football is that he is very direct, and he likes to use the flanks and he likes to use crosses quite a bit. While that might not be the most exciting brand of football, it will be exciting to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin get that kind of support and service. So I'm looking forward to seeing Calvert-Lewin in the lineup. I think Jordan Pickford will probably make a start, at least for one of the 2 halves. So far, in all the games that Benitez has played, each half has been a different formation. He has played a 4-4-2. He has played a 4-2-3-1. He has played a 4-2-1-3 at one point. He played three at the back for one half. So he's been experimenting a lot. And it's been a little bit difficult to try and figure out what his preferred formation is. So I think this United game will tell us a lot more about that. But I will not be surprised if we see like a 4-2-3-1 again, I think.
Right. And I mean, I know it's only preseason. It's very difficult to, predict a scoreline or anything. But what would you throw it in? If you just throw it in there, what would you say?
I'm not expecting Everton to get anything out of it. I think United will win comfortably. United are the stronger team. United are the stabler team. You've had Ole for a couple of seasons now, at least.
Third season.
Whereas third season now. So Everton's still a lot in transition. So I don't know, man. 2-0, 3-1. Hopefully I get to see one Everton goal. But I'm quite sure it will be a comfortable win for United. I also feel like while in the Florida Cup, like you said, the opposition wasn't too strong. So he was playing a little bit of attacking, a little bit of football on the front foot, at least while we were 0-0. And then after he got that goal, he was sitting back a little bit. But I think against United, I'll see the defensive low block that I'm expecting from Benitez through most of the season.
Right. Just lastly, I want to ask you a little, going off topic again, but I think Richarlison has been very good for Brazil in the Tokyo Olympics. They're in the finals now, if I'm not wrong. How excited are you seeing him come back into the Everton team and leading the line along with DCL up front?
I'm trying not to get too excited about Richarlison, to be honest, because till deadline day isn't over and it slams shut. I don't know why it's never gently closed, but till the transfer window doesn't slam shut, I am not entirely confident that Richarlison will still be at Everton. Everton definitely need to sell some players to try and get some money to reinvest. Yeah. Richarlison has been a player that's been linked out quite a bit. While Benitez did say that they let him go for the Olympics because that's a favor we're doing you, then you do us a favor by not leaving. But I'm not getting too excited, A, because I still feel like he might leave, and B, because I think he might have a poor season this season. He's been playing incessant football. We've had 2 Premier League seasons that have been very crunched, very back-to-back, no proper preseason. In this off-season, not only has he played every game of the Olympics, getting Brazil to the finals, he played every game of the Copa America as well. Yeah. He's played 2 international tournaments back-to-back, and he insisted on it. But that can't be okay for a human body or a human mind. He is going to burn out. With Brazil, he's been performing extremely well, but we know that when it comes to his nation, he wears his heart on the sleeve and he will do whatever it takes to win with his country. But when it comes to Everton, I think he will start to feel that fatigue. He will start to feel the tiredness of not only the 2 international tournaments, but the last 2 years. And he's also had a fairly injury-free career for so long, but that was because he was a young kid who could just run around as much as he wanted, But now as he gets closer to 23, 24, if Everton rely very heavily on him, I can see him getting a muscle injury, and I'm basically tempering my expectations from Richarlison for this season. So don't put him in your FPL team if you take my advice.
So all you guys heard it here first. If you have a Richarlison, take him out right now from your FPL team. Akash, thanks so much.
He's not even going to play. He's just not going to play the first 2 or 3 game weeks anyways.
Exactly.
So don't.
So FPL tips right now. Thanks, Akash. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been fantastic having a conversation with you. Do like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching our video. If you do like it, please click on the thumbs up